scoop. You absolutely can't imagine the Villainess's counterattack drama. Shocking reversal. When a villainess abandoned by fate gets the secret weapon to rewrite her life. The game of power meets the contest of love. Who will dominate this struggle? 1. Ruining the condemnation event. Hey, Prince Clovis, will you really stay with me for the rest of our lives? The cute golden retriever-like boy in front of me smiles innocently at me at my question, his green eyes glimmering in the sunlight. Of course, B-chan. Really? I puff out my cheeks with disbelief and suspicion. Really? You won't just throw me away for a cuter girl? Clovis tilts his head and then gives an innocent and unconcerned smile. I won't. B-chan's family helps us regain power after all. Then, not after you regain power either. Clovis blinks a few times and then puts his hand on my head to pat it gently. I will stay with B-chan, I owe B-chan after all. So you will. 11 years later. I figured this would happen, but it's just as annoying when you end up knowing ahead of time. I gently put the teacup down on the ornamented table and let out a sigh at the scene playing out in the school garden below me. Lady Beatrix, are you all right? A lady's gentle hand is placed on mine as we witness my betrothed, Prince Clovis, walking hand in hand alone through the garden with the heroine. They must be ignorant to both manage to overlook a tea party nearby, simply because it is on a balcony. Of course, the ladies around me being dead silent in sheer horror of what is happening might help them overlook it. Of course not, I reply and narrow my eyes at the two lovers. But what they don't know is that today is a very special event. In fact, the last event before the condemnation event. And here I had been such a good and merciful betrothed for the last 11 years. Still, seeing the one that had promised me to never to toss me away, really not keep his promise makes my heart sink a bit. Not that it was ever a promise made out of love. If I hadn't gained that strange girl's memories, and found out that this is all part of a story, then who knows what kind of reaction I would have had after seeing this. Are we really not going to do anything? One of the ladies next to me speak out carefully, as she watches me with pain in her eyes. No, I respond quietly, trying to silence the sinking disappointment in my chest. Clovis takes the heroine's hands in his as they face each other, and their eyes soften with love and adoration. Even the sun seems to shine brighter and warmer as Clovis leans in and presses his lips to hers. The first full display of fully blossomed love in their story, and one of the final nails in the coffin of ours. At least I don't have to wonder why he chose the lovable Delia over me. You see, the male lead in these stories always chose the heroine because she's interesting, cute, amusing, and basically untainted by the complications of society, and in particular adulthood. She's reckless and simple-minded, but cute enough to make you want to protect her. I, on the other hand, am exactly what society wants. Boring as I place value on etiquette and consequences of my actions, wicked because I interact in intrigue, greedy because I focus on work and monetary manners and participate in fashion, and so on. In this story, all I am meant to be is someone that deserves to have love taken away from them. I start quietly stirring my tea, recalling the countless hours I debated on what to do and whether there was any way out of the current situation. However, as though to force the situation, around a decade ago an epidemic swept through the main lands neighboring our island kingdom at a furious pace. It's considered lucky that only children and the elderly died from it in the years it was active, but it left a deep generation gap. Since our kingdom is on an island, we were almost magically spared the plague after closing all ports, but as a result, we are forced to only marry inside the country, if we want partners of our own age. Even Prince Clovis, who would usually have married a princess, was engaged to me, daughter of a duke, partly to recover the waning power of royalty in the country, but also because no deals could be made with the royalty from other countries, as they had neither children, nor extra power to deal with anything else than their own national crisis. Despite that, I tried just about every single way those reincarnated villainesses get a happy ending, and soon I came to the conclusion that it was useless. I can't count how many times I got spanked trying to avoid the ending of this story by acting sweet and nice. It all ended up with a semi-promise from my parents that if I didn't get married to Clovis and act properly, they'd make my life hell. After all, there's no eligible bachelors of my rank or higher in this. Becoming a commoner isn't a good solution either. A single bitter or greedy person and I'm dead or the main attraction of a brothel. That said, even if my family and society won't allow me to change to his preferences or to find someone that appreciates me the way I am, it's not like I have no options left. After agonizing my failures to fix or get out of the marriage, I realized something. Even if I thought of Clovis' actions as cheating, that isn't quite correct. If you switch the genders, you'll understand what I mean. A kind, skilled girl is forcefully engaged to a man of lower rank so that her family can stay in power. As they grow older, the man becomes cold and vicious to his opponents, humiliating them if they cross him. When she asks, he explains that it was necessary, and when she asks him to stop, he responds that he cannot. That it is how the world works. She hates it, and finds herself disgusted and betrayed that he wouldn't listen to her words. Then she meets a young man, far lower ranked than the man she is engaged with, but he is kind and makes her feel happy, healing her troubled heart that despises the world of cruelty. Usually this story ends with the two eloping, but there is a more dramatic ending, you see. The betrothed finds out, and in a rage challenges the young man to a duel. The young man wins and gets renowned as a master swordsman, and gets permitted to marry the girl. Happy ending. Why wouldn't a reader want the young man to win? And the young lady there would not be considered cheating, because it's an arranged marriage, right? She can just go sorry and then run away to her happy ending. To be honest, I felt rather dejected after thinking about the situation like that. After all, the right choice, and the possibility of not retaliating, being nice and kind, and everything that the lover represents, were never things I was allowed. How can I blame Clovis for wanting to look for love, although his choice is naive for his station? So I thought for a long time about what I should do, what I could do, and how I should feel, and I decided. I am going to turn this story on its head and make the villainess win. It's time for you to grow up a bit, Clovis, and be the one to have your heart broken. In the end, he will return to me while asking for forgiveness without me really lifting a finger against Delia. My lips curl into a smile, and that one little smile turns the worry in the eyes of my ladies to conviction that things will be all right. The villainess isn't the only ones with weaknesses. Once the happy ending has been reached, the perfect heroine will begin to fall apart, and that's where I'll strike, after having waited for 11 years for this day. So prepare yourselves, you two little lovebirds. I've let you taste the intoxication of love. Now it's time for both of you to wake up. Clovis' point of view. I stare coldly at Beatrix as she saunters into the student council room uninvited. The formerly happy atmosphere in the room immediately turned tense, and poor Delia is gripping the hem of her dress tightly, while trying desperately to avoid Beatrix's gaze. If it hadn't been because Beatrix's eyes were only on me, I would have stepped between them. How dare she show up here with everything she's done to Delia? More importantly, with all the gazes on her, Beatrix should know perfectly well that she isn't welcome here. Prince Clovis, what a pleasure to see you, the rest of you as well, she says politely, giving an elegant curtsy. Her long blonde locks of hair roll over her shoulder almost sensually, and in her eyes is a playfulness that's usually absent in her manners. What did she come here for? I feel a shiver crawl up my spine. You've said your greetings, you should leave now, Lady Beatrix, I respond coldly. The faster I send her away, the faster Delia will feel comfortable. Era, how cold, she says softly with a bit of a laughter in her voice. I stare in disbelief at her outrageous behavior. Despite being her betrothed, I am still the crown prince. And here I thought we should have an important conversation about those plans you gentlemen have been making for tomorrow night. I shudder at Beatrix's smile, as she rather blatantly calls out the condemnation we had planned for her tomorrow night. She'd looked so cold and annoyed recently, that seeing this amusement on her face instinctively makes my stomach tangle up into a knot of worry. How long has she known? If she's approaching like this, does that then mean she has found a way to get out of the situation? No, that shouldn't be possible. We've been gathering all this evidence, so she couldn't. She might just be bluffing, or just have heard that I plan to leave her waiting and go with Delia for the graduation ball tomorrow. If you already know, then why should I have a conversation with you about that? I glance to Delia, who seems tremble at Beatrix's presence. With how Beatrix has been bullying her, it's understandable. But seeing Delia's beautiful sapphire eyes shine with tears makes my heart ache. She trusts me to handle this. Even if Beatrix's family brought the royal family back to power, I must be firm with her. Why? Are you that certain of your witnesses and all your circumstantial evidence will hold up? Another shudder runs down my spine. She knows. Should I just start it here and hope enough of a crowd gathers? I wanted to do this in front of a crowd so it couldn't be buried afterwards, and the scandal would outweigh any potential gaps in the evidence that she could bribe herself out of. The student council room is somewhat isolated. There'll be little chance for the plan to succeed if we start it now. I'm simply suggesting a talk so that we can do this far more cleanly, but on the condition that it's only you and me talking, Your Highness. Her honey golden eyes narrow at me, and there's a hint of pity in her gaze. B. Maximilian, her brother, tries to burst into the conversation, but is cut short by Beatrix unfolding a fan with a sharp snap. Silence, Nii-sama, I am aware of your part in this too. We will have a talk of our own at home, with our parents. Her eyes narrow into a glare of disappointment and disgust at Maximilian, and he flinches. If their parents find out he's been sabotaging Beatrix's claim to the throne, they'll rip him apart. They're just as set on her position as her, if not even more. What do I do? Does she have a way out? Beatrix looks towards Leonard, the son of the sword's master, and then back to me, and I can see a smile form on her lips, as her eyes narrow with mockery this time. Leonard, she calls out, almost seductively, but while looking directly into my eyes, like she's warning me she's intending to ruin everything right here and now if she has to. I can't tell if she's bluffing. Leonard, take Delia outside. The rest of you go with them. I'm going to talk with Lady Beatrix for a while. I'll have to cover for them, just in case. I give a saying look to Maximilian, and he nods carefully, although giving a worried stare towards Beatrix. As he steps past me, he whispers in my ear, "Be careful, Your Highness. When Beatrix is like this, she has some cruel plan concocted that she's had going for a while." I nod. Delia and the guys of the student council leaves, and in the large office room remains only Beatrix and I, and her lips curl into a smile that's only half hidden behind her fan. 2. The agreement. Clovis' point of view. Beatrix lets out a heavy sigh, and then leans forward as she crosses her legs, leaning her elbow on her leg, and putting her head on her hand like she is trying to be inquisitive, but she just ends up looking seductive. I look away. Sit up normally. Nothing you can do can convince me to change my mind. I scold her pathetic attempt at seduction. But I'm met with a giggle as response. When I look back, she has folded the fan, and covers her mouth as she giggles. But as our eyes meet, that giggle turns into a laugh. Seduce you. She laughs harder as she leans back in the couch, and then looks at me with cold eyes. I see, so despite the overwhelming puppy love for Delia, you still end up looking at me like that. Why? I feel heat rush to my cheeks. That's not what I meant. She giggles again, but I'm at a loss for words. She has never been this blawed with me before. I don't think I've even seen her laugh this freely either. Now, Your Highness. Getting so riled up over so little. Am I not the one that should be insulted, that you see me as a woman that would try to seduce a man already in love? She smiles, but her eyes are cold. That is exactly what you are. You've been jealous of Delia from the start. She gives a huff. Jealous? That you give your affection to some naive girl and not me, your betrothed. Jealous that you've not met up with me of your own free will for years, but you meet up with her every single day. Or jealous that you kiss her in the garden, where you think I won't see it. My stomach sinks. How did she know? Are you spying on Delia? She sends me a smile, but her eyes look at me with pity, like a spider looking at its wrapped-up prey struggle. I was having tea on the balcony, with multiple young ladies, Your Highness. Balcony? Balcony? Ah, that's right, there's a balcony by the sunroom that overlooks those gardens. But Beatrix is usually never there. That's the book club's area. Then again, she's a social butterfly, why wouldn't she be spreading her influence there? I hold in a sigh of frustration. I let my guard down. Now the question is, what price I'll have to pay. However, let us put that matter aside, Your Highness. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to bring a compromise. Her expression turns cold and the smile disappears, making my stomach twist again. I can't help but to get the feeling I am being played, because I can't imagine why she would let a witness detail like this go unpunished. I don't even think Beatrix can compromise on anything anyway. That's why, among all the vicious marriage candidates, she came out on top, as she holds the court of young ladies in an iron grip. First of all, I haven't laid a hand on Miss Delia, nor incited anyone to do so. All those witnesses you have are all conveniently political opponents of mine, in a boring old ploy to reduce my favor in your eyes. I almost roll my eyes, of course she'd say that. It's not like there is any favor to reduce. I've only never struggled against the political marriage because I had never fallen in love, and it was important for the royal family. But we have the power back now. If you had actually asked around, you would know as much. Those two little vixens you got a testimony from are loyal to Lady Belrose. In case you do not remember her, Lady Belrose is your second marriage candidate. In case you do stop your engagement with me, she figures taking the spot from Delia will be easier than dealing with me. Lady Belrose vaguely rings a bell, but only as someone Beatrix argues with a lot. And what is your so-called motive for not bullying Delia? She raises an eyebrow and sighs at me, much like a tutor when you give a wrong answer. That is not how proving goes, but I will enlighten you, if it makes you trust me just a little more so we can do these negotiations properly. She reaches into a dress pocket and pulls out a few sheets of business ledgers, which she rather coolly lets slide through the air down to the table and across the table to me. I grab it before it falls down and end up studying them with suspicion. They show business transactions from Delia's father's companies. And truths I wish I didn't know stare back at me like I've stared into an abyss. If this is true, you're protecting Delia's family's businesses since she started at the academy. Why? I know many of the names that has pulled out of business with the Baron, and I know many of the names that have started business with them afterwards. But it's too convenient. Did she convince then to back off so she could gain control over the Baron's fate? But the new contacts are in the peripheral of Beatrix's family's power. As far from Beatrix's power as possible, but still supporters of Beatrix or neutrals, or even my supporters, which I weren't informed of had started such businesses. Beatrix stares at me dumbstruck. Why, you ash? Because you simply went and forgot, she says plainly, staring directly at me with her honey-colored eyes, listening almost with amusement. Is she serious? What kind of fool cannot keep his mistress safe from the machinations of court? She lazily uses the fan to point at the ledgers. You can confirm the authenticity of this on your own if you wish. What do you want? She's pretty clearly been working against the plan we had for tomorrow night, and she's going to disprove at least some of the witnesses too. It's a failed ambush. At this point I might as well hear her out before she tears me apart. Beatrix smiles a small victorious smile as I give in, looking like she's got me underfoot. Let's break the engagement. What? Why? Is she kidding? But she looks completely serious. Well, temporarily at least, she responds and cups her own cheek, with a sly smile on her lips. Whatever momentary adrenaline rush of hope I just got turns to suspicion. Temporarily? What in the world are you scheming? My senses tell me that if I say yes to whatever she is suggesting, she'll have me wrapped up like her prisoner in her web of schemes. Even if I make your highness and the other young men give up for tomorrow, it's just a matter of time until another attempt is made, or someone uses more dramatical means to what they consider a happy end. Of course, I am aware that neither of us can so easily break off the engagement. If that was possible, you would never have needed to orchestrate such a scandal tomorrow, but I'm certain that when it comes down to it, His Majesty the King would rather have the engagement broken than have me dead and you dishonored. Her tone turns somewhat cheery, as she describes various horrible ways this struggle of ours can end, but actually comes up with a plan that could get the engagement broken normally, in case we both testify that death would be a possible ending. What about the temporary part? Her smile fades as fast as it formed as she mentioned me dishonored. I do carry some spite towards you for how you've neglected me, and the humiliation of you kissing Delia in front of me, and the ladies at the tea party, so I'm going to demand something in return for breaking the engagement. A little test of sorts. I sigh heavily. My own spur-of-the-moment actions return to haunt me. Then again, this is the first time Beatrix has actually turned against me fully like this, and blatantly told me she's angry with me, and not just disappointed. What do you want? I'll give her anything reasonable as long as I can end up with Delia. You'll have a month vacation with Delia. I stare at Beatrix dumbfounded. Again, I can't tell what's going on in that head of hers at all. I can't even tell how this is in any way benefiting what I thought was her goal. You will tell Miss Delia that our engagement is broken. Everyone in the Summer Palace will be instructed to say the same. You will then bring her to the Summer Palace, where you will be doing a tale of your summer work in the span of a month, whereafter you can enjoy the rest of the summer with her leisurely. If you are still certain that you wish to go through with being with Delia after a month, then we will officially break off our engagement. I stare at her blankly as I wait for her to continue, but no more words come. That's it. That is all, Your Highness. ... This is too easy. That can't be all. What are you scheming? She smiles. Don't worry, I won't be doing anything. I will be staying in my family's mansion, which is conveniently right next to the palace, but that is all. She watches me closely, rather obviously enjoying my confusion. So she wants to watch? Their family summer mansion has overlook of the South Garden, so without a doubt she'll be quietly watching from there. Why go through all of this, Beatrix? Nothing will happen in a month that will make me change my mind, I insist, but she just tilts her head to the side. When I get jealous, Your Highness, I do indeed lash out a bit. I know you hate. How you despise, when I put the girls approaching you so sweetly in their place, how I scold you and them for being too thoughtlessly intimate. But what about Delia? I harden my gaze at her. What about Delia? I answer back in a harsh tone, to warn her not to overstep. But Beatrix doesn't care. Delia has never seen you with another woman, Your Highness. She knows you hate me, so I do not count a threat to her. I wonder, how does she get when she gets jealous? Her voice gets all sickeningly smooth again, like she's mocking Delia. She won't. Now stop, Beatrix. She will cry, I am sure. I freeze. I don't like the thought of Delia crying. In another man's arms. My world stops for a moment as those words come from Beatrix, and in an instant heat rises to my head. Before I regain control, I've stepped around the table, grabbed Beatrix by the collar of her shirt and lifted her up from the couch, to face me properly, to make sure she understands this one thing. Delia would never. I see. Beatrix's answer sounds bored and cold. Unthreatened, though I lifted her up like this. I let her go, hesitantly. If you insist she will not, then there should not be a problem with my demand, right? Beatrix corrects her clothes and then looks at me with disappointment as she turns away and puts some distance between us. As though insulted, she crosses her arms stubbornly. I wish you'd stood up for me like that just once, Your Highness. Her tone now somber. When I look at her expression from the side, it's bitter. You don't need anyone to stand up for you with how vicious you are, I respond harshly. She sighs. And how would you know? You've not met me behind closed doors for years. The only one you see is the performance a queen must put on. I stare at her, and as she says that so quietly, bitterly, and carefully, the overwhelming presence she usually exudes seems to disappear. And I notice that the way her arms are crossed aren't crossed stubbornly, but defensively. Her fingers tug at the collar, where I'd grabbed her, and her skin seems paler than usual. Is she scared? My stomach sinks with guilt at losing my temper. She was just. Performance, my voice shakes. I'm not the villain. She talked bad about Delia. I needed to protect her. Of course. Unlike you, I get punished physically and verbally for not complying. By your parents too, mind you, because you neglect me. The social reactions are even worse. People know that you carry no affection for me, and thus every interaction becomes a mockery of me being unloved. So I put them in their place, making you despise me even more. A vicious circle, where I must become crueler and colder. I want to retort to her words, but I never really cared much for the lady's interactions, or looked into what Beatrix's everyday consisted of. I only knew she argued a lot, and took control of meetings regarding management with an iron fist I just assumed she used in court as well. While the officials are terrified of her, they respect that she's good at her work, like it's her one good point they can actually respect. That's the world you want to thrust Delia into. Delia has won over everyone she talks with, except for you, I insist in return. Of course. Temporarily. She's easy to get rid of, once I'm not here to support her back. Beatrix brushes a wavy lock of hair behind her ear. Either way, this is a useless topic. Do you accept my deal or not? She doesn't look at me, and I hesitate. The bad feeling isn't gone, but she's right that I shouldn't have a problem with it if I don't doubt Delia. I accept. I hesitate for a moment. I apologize for grabbing you. My temper overtook me for a moment. I feel guilty. Beatrix is still just a woman, though she riles me up and acts deliberately cruel. I see. Then, let me hit you. I stare up at her and find her eyes staring at me intensely. I can't believe she actually requested that, but at this point I suppose it's the smallest surprise I have gotten today. She's not allowed to hit me without permission. I see, she wanted to slap me and held it in. I hold in a sigh. I suppose I deserve it. I'll think of it as punishment for failing as a man. You can hit me once, Beatrix. While I'm thinking that saying once was a good decision, she quickly steps in front of me, and surprisingly fast of her hand swings through the air with a swish, and smacks into the side of my face, leaving a stinging, aching surface behind, and my ear ringing. She didn't hold back, more like, I think she hit as hard as she could. Because she's holding her own hand in pain, which she's trying to mask with teary eyes. Beatrix. Did you lose your temper a bit too? Before I realize it, a smile has crept onto my lips. I've not seen such an ungraceful look on her face since we were kids, and it's satisfying. I bite my cheek to stop, but seeing her so focused on enduring the pain from her own slap is somehow amusing. It looks like it hurts her more than the slap does on me. She glares up at me and straightens up, still holding her hurting hand that's already turning red. The permission is so rarely given, I had to make certain I took advantage of it. I shall leave now. I wish you a good vacation. I will send a servant with the contract when I get back. She heads towards the door but stops before she walks out, and then looks to me again. Just remember I warned you, Clovis. My smile turns to a frown, both at the hint that Delia would be unfaithful, but also that she's used my name for the first time since we entered the academy. I'm going to add an extra condition to the agreement. You cannot tell her sorry for spending time doing your work. A bitter feeling fills my body. I know she means because my work is a requirement that shouldn't be apologized for, but it still feels wrong. Will you be escorting Delia tomorrow, Your Highness? I look down to the floor. According to the agreement, the news should be kept quiet for a month, so technically I can't let Beatrix go unattended. But if I don't go with Delia, she will be heartbroken. Beatrix sighs. Do it, escort Miss Delia to the ball. I stare at her back in disbelief again. But I am feeling oddly under the weather. I will surely be too ill to attend tomorrow, Your Highness. I shall ensure that Delia, as my replacement tomorrow night, shall not bring you shame. She puts on a polite tone again, and then exits the room, making the choice that I hesitated to do. Delia's point of view. Clovis looked exhausted when Lady Beatrix finally left, so I quickly went up to him and took his hand, putting it against my cheek as I hold it, while I looked up at him sweetly, trying my best to cheer him up a bit. Are you okay, Clovis? His eyes soften at me, making his radiant soft smile melt my heart a little. "Now where you are here with me, Delia." His husky voice reminds me of yesterday's kiss in the garden, making heat rise to my cheeks. "What did she want?" Maximilian asks, worried. He's her sister, so he knows Lady Beatrix well. Clovis then smiles to me. "She agreed to break our engagement and won't be at the ball tomorrow. She even agreed to send you everything you'll need for tomorrow, so we can spend the entire ball together, with you by my side, Delia." His eyes glimmer with happiness. Was Lady Beatrix that kind? Part of me is suspicious that she will do something bad, but seeing how happy Clovis is, shining at me like a radiant star of love, melts my doubts away. Really, he responds, and relief, joy, and love overtakes me as I jump into his arms. He twirls me around, and when he puts me down, he puts our foreheads together. We can finally be together. "I love you, Delia." "I love you too, Clovis." Beatrix's point of view. My hand hurts. I know he has a chiseled face, but does it have to hurt that much? He barely even flinched too. I step into the carriage, heading home for the day. The meeting didn't go perfectly, but I think I got everything said that I needed to say. To be honest, this is a bet. A bet on Delia's personality. There are many different kinds of heroines, but one thing many have in common is that they are used to their partner standing up for them in social conflicts. The problem is that these heroines don't know what to do when that conflict is with their own partner. So one could say the author adds a little spice by making the heroine cry and run into the arms of another man. But do be honest for a moment. Do you want a partner that cries with jealousy when they first see you with a colleague of the opposite sex? That's the heroine's weakness. Unlike the villainess, she's too scared to approach the problem on her own and needs her man to do the work for her. I grab the collar of my shirt. That said, Clovis has grown up more than I thought, physically. Perhaps I pushed him a bit too far. He's in the middle of a very intense puppy love and already sees me as an enemy. He's not willing to listen, so I should have been a bit more careful. I sigh. The petition to the king has already been sent, and my vacation booked, long before this conversation. Maximilian's actions to sabotage the family will be exposed, and he'll be put under house arrest at least for the next month, as per my request. That should let me go without surveillance for a while, to observe how the situation unfolds. And actually just maybe have a relaxing beginning to the summer, now where I will not have to join the summer work sessions at the summer palace. You see, large amounts of the work Clovis and I were in charge of gets bundled up slowly throughout the year to the summer, so that we can focus on our studies the rest of the year. Since Delia doesn't know territory management, Clovis will have to go through that hell alone. My lips curl into a smile. If nothing else, this is a bit of revenge too. 3. Welcome to the summer palace. Beatrix's point of view. A few days later, I walk into our summer mansion, with the 2 trunks filled with things, mostly books, I brought along, and a smile slowly creeps onto my face. Phase 3. Enjoy a month of vacation. It's completely quiet. No butler to greet me, no maids to constantly make sure I look perfect, no servants constantly looking to be at my beck and call, and no guards telling me I can't go out when I want. It's perfect. My voice echoes through the entry hall, and I enjoy it as I breathe in the air of a month of freedom. Or, as my parents think of it, a month to heal the heartbreak while Clovis gets over his puppy love. I pop the high heels off of my feet and happily saunter through the empty mansion, to look for a room overlooking the royal gardens. Yes, that is the best part about this mansion. It lets me follow up on the drama going on inside, and otherwise just enjoy the view of a beautifully blossoming garden. Perks of being from a powerful ducal family that has always been close to the royal family. It's not that I'm going to spy on them intensely, but it's not like I'm uninterested either. Not that there will be much to spy on, as Clovis will practically have little to no time with Delia, because of all the work he has to do. Most days he will come back after dark. In the past, both of us usually end up completely exhausted, looking like wet rags that have been squeezed dry and sloppily placed in a chair. Poor Delia. I smile a bit at the pain she's going to go through. One could think of that as cruel, but she's the one what went and flirted with someone in a high position without thinking about the consequences. It's time for their first real obstacles as a couple. I'll get myself cozy though. I'll need some blankets, nails, and some string. First though, let's get out of this formal dress and into something more comfortable. Only my happy hums fill the quiet mansion. Clovis' point of view. I reach my hand out to Delia after stepping out of the carriage, and she puts her soft hand in mine while our gazes meet. The sea breeze makes her cherry pink hair flutter and her eyes glimmer in the sun. Welcome to the summer palace. We will stay here for the next 2 months, Delia. She looks past me and up at the summer palace with stars in her eyes. She almost looks dizzy at its magnificence. She manages to make these things seem beautiful again, though I myself have grown bored of the extravagance. It's one of those things that made me fall for Delia, how she made my mundane everyday colorful. I give her hand a gentle squeeze. I'll take you to our room. I feel flustered saying it. We haven't slept together in the same room till now, and usually we wouldn't, but I got permission, as long as nothing more happens. Not that I would push things that fast. Delia blushes too, stepping a little closer to me. Our room. And she's... I can't hold back a smile. I look down to her finger, where an engagement ring adorns her beautiful ring finger. It may be rash of me to do this before my engagement is fully broken with Beatrix, but it's not like my feelings for Delia will change in a month. I have already adored Delia for a couple years now. What is a single month of hard work going to change? Delia gives me a caring, shy smile as our eyes meet, and I guide her through the halls of the summer palace to my room. Now our room. Delia's eyes shine as she lets go of my hand and walk into the room, twirling around to see everything, then smiles as she stops by the bed and holds a hand out to me. Clovis, she calls my name so sweetly that it makes whatever worry I had left from the conversation with Beatrix melt away. I walk up to her and put my hand in hers before pulling her to me tightly and kiss her forehead. She giggles sweetly. I cup her face in my hand, the way I know she likes, and kiss her softly on the lips, sweetly and innocently. It'll be painful how little I'll get to see her. But the agreement with Beatrix was that I complete my duties properly, which is better for us anyway, so I can give Delia all my attention next month. I love you, Delia, I say softly. I have to go now, but remember, this is now your home too. You can go wherever you want, I try to reassure her softly, hoping she won't be too sad with me gone, and that she will befriend the castle staff. She smiles at me and cups my cheek back. I'll be waiting for you. She sends me off with a smile. Delia's point of view. It doesn't take long for me to find the library of the summer palace, and it is huge and beautiful like everything else here. It's a little overwhelming and reminds me all the time that I will be Clovis' wife. I happily touch the engagement ring and the pink diamond embedded in it. He spoils me so sweetly and makes sure I always feel loved. Apparently Clovis will be very, very busy with work, especially now where Lady Beatrix isn't helping out anymore, as she's no longer the future queen. So I decided I would begin to study to better myself so I can help Clovis and we can spend more time together. Do you need help? Blink as I look to a handsome silver-haired man that approaches me. As he walks through the rays of sun, it shimmers like stars. He looks older than Clovis and a bit more mature. Is he the librarian, perhaps? Would he be uncomfortable if I told him how beautiful he is? I shake the thought away. I was looking for books on territory and castle management, I state determinedly. He smiles at me softly, showing such a gentle expression. I see. Wait at the table over there and I will find them for you. He motions towards a cozy little reading nook by one of the tall windows facing the ocean. The sun casts a ray through the window, sending a warm light down over the table, but keeping the chair in the shadow. Is that okay? I can help carry the books. I'm stronger than I look, I appeal to him, making him smile softly again. Don't worry, just enjoy your time and get seated, milady. He walks off, leaving me alone in the library. Milady. I think getting used to that might take a while. I'm a lady now. the crown princess, no longer a little Miss Delia. I will really have to do my best. I head off to the reading nook and look around. There's another chair a little bit away, hinting that the reading nook can probably be used by two. Still, this place really is gorgeous. Gold adornments run along the edges of the bookshelves, and the ceiling arches are filled with paintings of angels and flowers by the ocean. I wish Clovis could have been here to introduce it to me, and sit with me, and tutor me. I feel my cheeks flush red at the thought of him sitting next to me, leaning close because he has to whisper the words to me not to be noisy. I sit down in the leather-bound chair and wriggle my toes a bit. Perhaps I could request a bit of his time to do that? Soon the silver-haired man returns with only a couple of books, which he places in front of me, and I sit up straight and try to compose myself so the silver-haired man doesn't realize I'm thinking about silly things. I hope you will excuse my rudeness, but I assume that you'd be most comfortable with these two books. They are great entryways into the many details of estate management. I look down at the books, a bit ashamed that my ignorance is that obvious, but happy that he took the effort and found these for me, and didn't just bring a tower of books. Thank you. I guess my lack of knowledge is quite obvious. I smile nervously, but he doesn't mock me. Many high nobles and heirs have done nothing else since they were born. Is it not just as admirable that you decide to improve now? One is never too old to learn something for the good of others, and I am sure you'll do great. I look up at the silver-haired man and end up smiling shyly. It feels good being praised like that. Being praised for a good effort. Thank you. Can I ask what your name is? I feel a bit ashamed I forgot to introduce myself. Cyril, and yours? Cyril? That's pretty. My name is Delia. Cyril smiles. Nice to meet you, Lady Delia. In the end, Cyril proved to be a really nice person. When I had trouble with understanding the books he gave me, Cyril ended up tutoring me instead. Of course, I would have preferred Clovis, but perhaps it's okay since Cyril ended up being a really great tutor. Around dinner time I left, and went to eat dinner with Clovis. But he never appeared for dinner, and the only thing I got was a message that he would not have time to dine with me. And in the end I ate it alone. After it had gotten cold, hoping he would find the time anyway. Clovis didn't return that night until the clock struck midnight, where he laid down on the bed next to me, falling asleep the moment his head hit the pillow. I was alone there for dinner the day after that too, and the day after that, and the day after that, but none of the times he came to eat dinner with me. And so my time at the library grew longer and longer until Cyril invited me to eat with him instead, when I told him that I'd been eating alone for a few days. A few days later. It's dark outside as Clovis finally returns. It's a couple hours earlier than usual, but he still looks exhausted as he gets ready for bed and lays down on the other side so far away from me. Even though we've slept in the same room now for a week, he hasn't touched me, not even hugged me close at night. I feel my eyes burn a little. I'm being unreasonable. He's just tired from working too much. He even gets up before I wake up too, so of course he is tired. A sniffle still escapes me, as I still end up working myself up, from feeling unattractive, if he won't even hold me close at night. Delia, I jolt at the sound of his voice, and a hiccup escapes me. Are you still awake? He sounds groggy, as he turns over. Are you okay? What's wrong? He calls sweetly and worriedly. I'm sorry, I mutter. I'm fine, I add, but hearing his voice made all the feelings overflow. I miss him. I begin to wipe my eyes, but as I do, I feel the bed move, and suddenly I'm pulled close to Clovis's chest. His shirt is still on, but his scent is all over it. Shaish, he whispers, now against my ear, as he strokes my back. I hiccup with surprise. He's so close. It might be selfish, but I'm glad you're awake, Delia. I've missed you, he says so softly, that my heart skips a beat. I miss talking with you, Delia. I miss you too, Clovis, I respond with a little smile, closely snuggled against him. I love you, Delia. I hear a heavy breath from him, and his arms get heavy around me. He's out cold like a light. I look at his face up close in the darkness, with only the moonlight slipping in through the window. Yosh, I've decided, if he doesn't have time to come to me, then I will come to him. 4. Heartbreak. Delia's point of view. I thought I'd woken up extra early today, but Clovis was already gone by the time I woke up, again. Just how early does he get up? I wish we could at least have breakfast together. I suppose this is because I can't do my part of the work. I sigh, and then quickly shake my head. No, we can't go and be dejected already. I clap my cheeks to fire myself up, to get ready for the day. Usually I'd go to the library to study with Cyril, but today I have a plan. I'm going to make Clovis lunch and bring it to him. That way we can spend just a little time together. I smile happily at the idea of a little garden picnic with him. I go down to the kitchen, a bit worried the kitchen staff would chase me out of there, but partly unexpected they smile at me warmly instead, like they've been waiting for me. Miss Delia, is there anything we can do for you? I must have gotten used to Cyril calling me lady, because the miss sounds a little wrong. I am Clovis' fiancé now after all. Aren't I supposed to be called lady? I shake it off. They're smiling. It's not that they disapprove of me. I would like to make lunch for Clovis. Would it be okay I borrow the kitchen? I ask, as usually nobles aren't really allowed down here. The head chef smiles as she wipes her hands clean in her apron. Of course, if you need anything just call, and we will find it for you. Come, I'll help you find an apron and show you around. I feel the worry flutter away, and my heart fill with happiness. I'm sure Clovis told them I like to go to the kitchen and made them aware. I blush a bit, thinking about how I fed him my last homemade lunch with the same fork I had eaten from. I'm sure he will be happy. Later. I end up spending the morning making the lunch for Clovis, and I probably overdid it a little as well. It's been so long since we ate together that I got a little too excited. I smile a little to myself as I pack everything into a picnic basket. And bring a blanket too. It's great weather, and all the flowers in the garden are blooming. I get everything ready, and then head out with the kitchen people waving to me. As far as I recall, Clovis had said that the offices were in the other end of the summer palace, so it'll take a little while to get there. I may have gone a little too early though, but it'll probably be fine if I just wait. It ends up taking 20 minutes. Why are the offices so far away? I dressed myself up too, in high heels and all. I think I can feel a few blisters coming. I wince. I might have been a little foolish. I approach the offices from the garden side, looking at the time on the clock tower, and it rings for lunch. I barely made it. With a bit of excitement filling my chest with butterflies, I hide behind a tree. If I surprise him, what kind of face will he make? The doors open. My heart speeds up. You're never gonna make it back in time, Clovis, a female voice half laughs. I know, but Delia has been worried for me, Clovis responds, and my heart tightens. By the time you're done eating, you'll only have like 10 minutes left. Is she convincing him not to go see me? I peek out from the tree and see Clovis, looking tired, and a woman, clad in a military uniform, standing close to him. Her thick, flowing locks of deep red hair bounce against her shoulders, and her warm tan skin almost makes her look exotic. Her voice sounds deep and beautiful, like Beatrix's. I cover my ears, but I can't stop watching them. Why is he with a woman? She grins at him playfully, and he laughs. He laughs heartily at whatever she said. Clovis never acts like that with me. He always only smiles so sweetly, or calls me cute, or hides what little he does laugh. But when I see him laugh with her like this, how can I help but to think whether he truly laughs with me? And enjoys my company? She brings out a couple of sandwiches for them to share, and my heart hammers against my chest painfully. Is this what you've been doing, Clovis? The reason you've left me alone so late at night? I look down at the basket I had prepared for us. I'm spending all my energy for you, studying so hard to become worthy of you, and you're spending time with another girl. No, No, I must be overthinking it. The two of them lean over the half wall they were standing by with their hands on the wall, almost leaning their shoulders together, looking down as if to hide their words. I feel tears spill over. Ah, I see, I get it, I'm just a decoration now. This woman is taking my place beside him. I can't even help him with work. I'm useless to him. No wonder he'd chose someone more like her. Sexy and mature, and she even has a sword too, so she's probably trained in swordplay. I hiccup, and then drop the picnic basket on the ground. I shouldn't have come here. I wish I hadn't come here. I wish I'd never fallen for someone like a prince. I run as hard as I can, stumbling over and over, until I finally kick off those stupid high-heeled shoes that don't suit me. The rain starts pouring down like the tears from my cheeks, soaking the all-too-elegant dress that doesn't suit me either. By the time I can't run anymore, I've ended up in the library, and the water drips from my soaked dress onto the beautiful wooden floors. Why did I end up here? Lady Delia. I look up at Cyril with tear-filled eyes, having a hiccup from all the tears streaming down my face. Cyril, I gasp out between the tears. Your feet are bleeding, he says with a horrified expression, and in a single movement sweeps me into his arms, causing me to cry harder, as everything I've bottled up slips out again. I'm not suited to be a princess, I cry in his arms as he walks with me. That's not true, Lady Delia. I sob. No one treats me like I'm Clovis' fiancé, don't tell me anything, and he never talks with me anymore. Delia, he says out pained, and then finds a chair to sit me down on gently, making me look him in his midnight blue eyes. He caresses my cheek, and brushes away the tears. I am certain His Highness Clovis loves you very dearly. I cut him off, the frustration bursting out of my chest. He doesn't. I hiccup again. I can't get it over my lips, that he was with another woman. Cyril looks at me worried with pain in his eyes. I'm sorry, I choke out. I didn't mean to take my frustration out on him. I use my hands to wipe away the tears so desperately, but they just keep coming. Then, be with me instead, Delia. I'll never let you feel so lonely. Cole. My tears stop in surprise at his words, and my heart flips with confusion. With Cyril? I'd never thought of Cyril like that, but Cyril has always been there when I was lonely. He's always praised me for my skills, helped me understand this world better, and he's not a prince buried in duties. I blink as Cyril presses his soft lips against mine. They're smaller than Clovis, but softer and more insisting. Would I be better as a librarian's wife? I can't help but to think that for a moment. The sound of something dropping echoes through the library. Cyril pulls back, and there at the door stands Clovis. And on the floor are my high heels. No. Your Highness, forgive me. I have been impertinent. Cyril kneels down, lowering his head to the ground, making my head spin. But Clovis ignores him and just looks directly at me. Why? No, wait. No, it's not like that. What is going on? Your Highness, Lady Delia did nothing. I was the one who overstepped my boundaries. Cyril defends me with all his might. Delia, what happened? Clovis looks angry. I've never seen him so angry. He's soaked to the bone, looking tense, like when he's arguing with Beatrix. I was just unsure, and Cyril, not with him. I look down as tears continue flowing. I'm sorry, I sob out. Why did you run? His voice is hard and cold. I don't deserve this. Why are you treating me like this when you're the one sleeping around? I've been trying so hard. I've been preparing all day, trying to be a good princess, but you like that woman more than me, I sniffle out. What woman? Beatrix. Why is his voice so harsh? Why doesn't he pat my head? No, the red-haired woman that was next to you. Through my tears, I see Clovis run a hand through his hair and sigh so deeply, like his expectations for me left his body with it. I can't believe this actually happened. We were looking over business papers for the next meeting. Eh? No, wait, that can't be true. Cyril. Make sure her feet are tended to, and she gets some dry clothes to wear. I have a meeting I need to get back to. I hiccup. Clovis. Clovis. Clovis turns away, and without a word just walks out of the library. Why? Clovis. They. I immediately stand up but flinch from the pain in my feet and almost stumble over, only to be caught by Cyril. Clovis. They? You cannot, Lady Delia, you're too hurt. I shake my head. Red-haired lady. That's probably Lady Louise Winterbell. She's his Clovis' cousin and the current Duchess Winterbell. She got married last year. I heard she was helping out in Beatrix's place so they could be done faster. I stare up at Cyril in horror. His cousin. But they were standing so close, laughing and smiling. Like family. Ah. Oh no. No. I need to fix this. Lady Delia, you can't stand up yet. Let me tend to your feet first, he pleads me. But if I don't go now, I feel like something bad is going to happen. They wouldn't let you in with your feet bleeding like this. I bite my lip and let Cyril sit me back down as tears keep rolling down. What have I done? Why am I so stupid? I bury my face in my hands. By the time Cyril finishes and finds me some flat shoes, I hurriedly try to find Clovis, but the guards block me from going near the offices, requesting me to go back and wait until the meetings are over. The meetings that last until the middle of the night. Please, don't throw me away. Clovis. Clovis' point of view. My head is spinning. After the thing that happened with Delia, I haven't been able to focus. My eyes are burning after crying like a fool. I could barely make it through the meetings without turning into a mess and making a fool of myself. No, I've already done that. I sigh as I put my head against the rain-soaked front door, my hand on the door knocker. Ah, what am I doing here? I really am an idiot. The servants will see me. The guards will question me. I should go. What was I thinking of, coming here? The door opens, and instead of a servant I see Beatrix herself through my tear-blurred vision with a small glowing lantern. I want to scold her for opening the door on her own. That a lady like her should know of the dangers, but all that comes out is uncontrollable sobs. Clovis. Clovis. I shake my head. What in the world am I doing? Going to Beatrix to have my face laughed at for being an idiot. For everything turning out the way she said, the way she warned me, and that I got so angry at her for saying. Before I can turn away in further shame, I feel her slender hand slide into my hair as she steps out of the door and pulls me down to her shoulder. My heart tightens with pain. Why? Come on in, you'll get sick like this, she says softly, in a tone she doesn't use. Why? Aren't you supposed to mock me? To tell me what a fool I am? That I get what I deserve? But she doesn't. She just awkwardly guides me through the door with my head still on her shoulder, and she pushes the door closed behind us. She puts down the lantern and caresses my back patiently, calmly, showing a kindness I'd long thought her incapable of, and it only makes me cry harder as it proves I'd been a fool with Beatrix as well. It takes a while before the tears stop rolling, and my head feels empty and numb. Come on, you're soaking wet. Let's find you some dry clothes. She lets me go and then takes my hand instead. I feel like an obedient puppy as I let her guide me through the quiet mansion. Why did you let me in? My voice cracks. But Beatrix just looks back at me with a serious and worried expression. I'm not going to abandon someone that looks like they're about to kill themselves. Ah. Do I look like that to you? I don't ask anymore, and just let her guide me the rest of the way to one of the rooms. The blankets have been used to make a small blanket fort on the bed, and I can see a few books in there. It's lived in, and clearly Beatrix's room. Completely inappropriate for an adult lady. She lets my hand go and goes to the drawer, where she messes around for a bit. I look over Beatrix as she searches, and finally realize that she's only in a chemise, and now wet chemise, because of me. I look away. I think this one should fit. I don't have any men's clothes, so you'll have to deal with what you're given. I cautiously look back and find her holding up another chemise and a set of long frilly women's bloomers. Is this an attempt at humiliating me? She blinks and then gives a huff. Don't worry, I'm saving that till you perk up a bit. There's no servants here. You can either wear this or sleep in your wet clothes. I sigh. I don't really have the energy to argue with her. Okay, babe. She gives a nod and then hands me the clothes before putting the lantern between us and turning around so I can undress behind her. Soon I've changed and I feel ridiculous. What am I doing in a lace dress in Beatrix's mansion? Should I just head back? But I don't want to go back. Are you done? She asks softly. I turn around, looking at her back, hear the wet imprint of my arms around her clings to her skin. I didn't realize I hugged her back. Yes, you should change too. Beatrix. She glances over her shoulder at me. I know. Meanwhile, go to bed. You're still exhausted from work, so your mind doesn't work right. I nod, not denying that, and head towards the bed, crawling into the blanket fort construction. It feels oddly safe and cozy. Before the sleep claims my body, I manage to carefully ask the one question that I have been desperately wanting to ask her since noon. How did you know? Her face looks guilt-ridden in the lantern light. Because she always wants someone to save her. I see.